I didn't know this, John. Did you? But Vivek Ramaswamy apparently has a podcast now.
No, this is how I learned about it. Which honestly, like good for him. Good for him that I heard about his podcast this week.
You gotta. So what's been really interesting about Vivek Ramaswamy is that we always talked about how Vivek is honestly the best, the person who best did Trump more than other Republicans. Like he realized like the absurdity and the nonsense, and he has the eye for the pageantry and stagecraft that we associate with Donald Trump. But his limitation was he was an Indian and a Hindu. And like, so this is a white Christian world. And so I don't know, you guys saw like clips from people at the town halls where they've been saying, yeah, I don't know if I can vote for that guy, because of his religion and all. But a lot of people were really artful in saying it, not our girl Anne. So let's hear what she had to say when, by the way, his podcast is called Truth, very original. And this is how it started with their interview.
That was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that. And it's directly related.
She said, we'll get back to that. Could you imagine saying that? Like, no, I don't think we will. I think we're going to adjust that.
We're going to talk about this right now. You don't get to
right fucking now. Fortunately, though, she does kind of go on to explain why she wouldn't vote for him because he's an Indian.
Related to what you were just talking about, the thing about nationalism, you're totally right. It is like, to use the word nationalism. And Hitler had soup. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have soup. Hitler loved dogs. That doesn't mean you shouldn't love dogs. So I think we have to move past this. If Hitler did it, it must be bad.
So the person whose name was being bleeped out was a rather famous German painter from the 1930s who didn't quite make it in art school, if you know what I'm talking about. So, like, we'll go to you, John, first. Like, what were your thoughts when you saw this incredible piece of journalism featuring the great Ann Coulter?
It was so just stunning to hear. Like, it was an unforced error. It's not like she was asked, hey, what reasons wouldn't you vote for me if you like these things? And it just like kind of like came out as a knee-jerk reaction. It was her preamble. It was, oh, hi, Vivek. Thank you for having me on your show. I really like what you have to say, honestly, more than anyone else, but I won't vote for you simply because you're Indian. That is such just like, I couldn't believe, I had to like do a double take because like, I know that these things are real. I know that a lot of people wouldn't vote for Vivek Ramaswamy because he's Indian, but I don't know how many people would say that. Like usually they make some other reason to do it, but she's just like, and it kind of, to what you talked about a lot, TJ, in the past with Vivek Ramaswamy, just like he's made a bed that he'll never really be able to accomplish anything in because there is a ceiling to how far an Indian person, like he's a token. And he'll only ever be a token. And she said it straight to his face. And his face is so like, you can see that he recognizes it. You can see that face that he's making like, oh, I can't say what I really want to say. But like, oh my God, it was hilarious. And I felt bad for her. But like also he came out and said, oh, I'm okay with this. So it's like, you know what? If you're going to do that, I'm not like, how upset can we really be about it?
Serafina, what'd you think?
It's just, it's disappointing, but it's not surprising to me. I feel like
that's good. That's good. I like that.
I've seen a lot, especially lately, of people kind of saying the quiet part out loud. It's like people are getting bolder now. They're saying things that normally people would be like, oh, you can't say that. And I don't understand what's happening with it. The thing that comes to my mind the most, I don't know if you guys saw this clip. You probably did. It was all over TikTok. That one, I don't know if he was a senator or who he was, but he was speaking to a group of people, and he called someone a jigaboo.
I heard about that. I can't remember who it was, but I did hear about that. Yeah.
Who it was, but this jigaboo, and I was like, okay, you were way too comfortable using that word. You were way too comfortable saying that.
Yeah.
there's more and more of them like saying the quiet part out loud. I really feel like she just doesn't really have she doesn't feel a need to hide it because like she's surrounded by people who condone her behavior, condone the way that she thinks the same way that she does. And so she's kind of just like, I can say whatever I want without any repercussions at all.
Yeah. Ann Coulter, so she's kind of always been this way. Like she cut her teeth being a conservative firebrand, 25, 30 years ago. And she was willing to say the stuff, like the quiet part out loud. She was willing to say stuff that a lot of other conservatives wouldn't quite get close to saying. I remember during the Iraq War, let me see if I can find the quote here. Yeah, so during the Iraq War, or actually, no, this is after 9/11. But before the Iraq War, when we were talking about going into it, people were arguing like whether or not we should do this. Like, is this correct or is it moral? And they asked Ann Coulter what she thought about us invading the Middle East, and she said we should invade their countries, kill their leaders, convert them to Christianity. We weren't punctilious about locating and punishing only Hitler again and his top officers. We carpet bombed Germany. Yeah, she loves talking about this guy apparently.
Yeah.
But, really strange, isn't it?
Odd, yeah, odd her fascination. So we got Lena says it's not Christian nationalists, it's Christians. Period. We're getting there. We're gonna get there.
Lena, you should stick around to the end of the show because we have a whole segment.
That's so funny. Oh God, we have so much to say about that, but that's a different part of the show. Thank you though for the comment, Lena. But Ann Coulter, she always Ann Coulter said her only regret about Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh was that he didn't go to New York Times. Yeah, see, she's always said this shit. Like, she's always been wild like this. But it's funny, John, you mentioned about her and Trump because when Trump ran for office, she wrote a book. And I remember the book was called In Trump We Trust because, she was a big Trump fan. But she started, I know, right? Yeah, like, this is the thing, too, about conservatives that not only is their thinking lazy, but their creativity is fucking In Trump We Trust. I can try a little bit harder. Come on. But she kind of diverged from Trump about halfway through. I think they split on the wall because Trump didn't actually build the wall. And she didn't find Trump to be nearly, fascist enough for her liking. Oh, go ahead, John. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. She not Hitler enough for her liking.
No. No, not
hilarious that was probably the breaking point. You said you were going to build this wall. You said we were going to do this and that. And you didn't do it. That's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like not scratching that fascist itch quite well enough. But I want to talk about what John said about Vivek's face because you did see like it was like what is it called, like a micro expression, like he was barely there for like a millisecond. You could see that it stung, and which I mean, it's not like he hasn't heard it before. Come on, buddy, you're a brown Republican. You know that this exists, and you pander to this shit. It's also funny too. We did a whole episode of Vivek Ramaswamy because he made this big speech about how racism doesn't really exist in America anymore. So it was really funny seeing it like done right to his face. But what I love is say what?
I just find it so crazy whenever I see people that have in most cases experienced racism say that it doesn't exist. I'm like, you should not be the person saying this.
Yeah, it's kind of a requirement to say it if you're a minority Republican. Like Tim Scott says it all the time. Like Tim Scott, the black senator from South Carolina, the only black Republican senator, he always says America is not a racist country, and the crowd erupts and just start clapping. Like it's kind of like what he has to say. But with Vivek, John, you're absolutely right. He knew he couldn't say anything because he's built his whole brand on this. So what did he do? He sat there like a good little token and just took what he had coming to him. He just sat there. And at the end, he posted a tweet about this, promoting the interview. And if I can remember what it said, Ann Coulter told me straight to my face that she wouldn't vote for me because I was Indian. While I don't agree with what she said, I respect her courage to come on and say it. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Like,
you know what I don't respect? Your fucking cowardice to lick her boots after right Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's like, it's one thing to like kiss Donald Trump's ass because, he might make you vice president of the United States. This is Ann Coulter. What do you have to lose by going up against her? I don't know. What do you think about that, John?
I mean, he could easily. This is the thing that like Vivek should probably learn if he's going to succeed. Like from Vivek's perspective, he should have just taken out Ann Coulter. He's bigger than Ann Coulter is now. He could have went on the offensive and been like, "This is the problem with the Republican Party. We're never like." He could have taken that route, and he could have probably made some progress there. But
you think
instead,
so?
I do because I think that there are many Republicans in the Republican Party that like will listen to him and his brand of politics that aren't racist. At least like in the way that Ann Coulter is. And so like they'd be like, yeah, you're right. We need to hide our racism. We can't be showing it on our sleeves. And like if he were to just like take that and just take out Ann Coulter, just go on the offensive. No one's going to defend Ann Coulter. Like no one's going to be pissed off that he's attacking Ann Coulter. If he did it to Trump, he couldn't do that, as you said.
No.
But he could have just, Republicans love the blood sport. They love the, winner takes all mentality, survival of the fittest bullshit. Like I think he would have won that. And I think it would have been better for him than just like being the complacent, like, walking mat. I don't know. I feel like there's like a term for like this kind of thing that just isn't coming to mind. Like it's not Uncle Tom, but it's
what's the Indian version of Uncle Tom?
I
don't know.
Coon, but I don't know like what the Indian version of
is.
Uh-huh.
I'll have to look at that. I feel like any like clever name I come up with is just gonna make me sound racist, so I'll just back off. I don't want to do that. I do want to address what Lena said. Thank my guests, Serafina and John. This is not my show. That's a different one. This is This is me and John's show. So that's a different one. But it's simulcast. But yeah, this is our show. Serafina is our guest. But the interesting thing that you brought up, John, is that I wonder like actually I already know the answer because like in the Republican like racial hierarchy, because there definitely is one. They also have a sexist hierarchy. So does like Indian man, a Trump Republican woman. I'm curious about that.
Of Ann Coulter's age, yes.
Oh, good point.
Ann Coulter was 25, he'd be in trouble. But Ann Coulter now, not so sure.
Yeah.
I never really knew that there was like a hierarchy when it came to the ages. That's interesting. I would automatically assume whenever it comes to like at the end of the day, someone is going to side with a man before they side with a woman, and so it would make sense that way. But the ages, didn't think about that.
So it depends, I guess, because young women aren't taken as seriously as any man, honestly, like in a lot of ways. But when it comes to Republican media, having a young woman like repeat talking points that you only hear from 65-year-old men, incredibly valuable. Like it means a lot. And having any minority group does it a lot, but it's like so Fox News. Okay, this is we've talked about how poisonous Fox News has been. Rush Limbaugh was kind of like the progenitor of this, and it kind of led into Fox News. But let's be real here. Like one of the main reasons that Fox News is so popular, like its main demographic is like 70-year-old men, is because they have hot women who are only allowed to wear heels and dresses and shit, and solid colored dresses.
They all look exactly. They're all blonde. Yes. They're all about the same height.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, and they're all blonde.
They're all blonde. Yeah, they appeal to like old white men and like their sexual gratification, and they get to hear what they think. So their eyes and ears stay glued to the TV. So it's very valuable. So like when you're Ann Coulter though, and you're 50 something, that's not quite as valuable anymore. And so yeah, it's there is definitely a hierarchy in there. But I'm interested to know, Serafina, what you think about this, because what John said is that, well, he kind of qualified as that there is a segment of the Republican Party that's not quite as racist as like the 80-year-olds, or like they're more embarrassed about the racism and everything. We've talked about this many times, and that I think the Republicans could win over a lot of minority votes if they dropped a lot of the racism, because a lot of minority groups are pretty damn conservative when you get down to it. Like they have a lot of conservative leanings. And so do you think that's even possible for them to exist that way?
If I'm being honest, I know a whole lot of, and I'm just speaking because I know way more about the Black community than anything else. Mm-hmm. I know a whole lot of Black people who would probably, or actually not probably, who would 100% be Republican if there wasn't the issue of race. If it wasn't a racism thing, a whole lot of them were, because they all share in most cases they share the same values. You know, like the Christian nationalist values. They share the whole like conservative values. Marriage should only be with a man and a woman, and all of that. I see a lot of people have that sort of, especially when they are getting older too. That's another thing, and I'm thankful at the very least that younger people are starting to vote now, because we're starting to see more of like what people want to see as opposed to what people have been getting before. So I don't know, honestly. I feel like it could be possible. I feel like there's a possibility that there's some that are just not as bad as the other ones and are embarrassed of the other ones, but I feel like they're a little bit more hidden and they don't really you don't really hear from them, because here's the thing: if there was people that were out there that were constantly like calling out the issues in like the Republican Party or like just conservative values in general, and they were a part of it, I feel like more issues would actually be solved, because them themselves are the ones that are calling it out and being like, I'm a part of this and I see an issue. But that's just me.
Yeah, John and I have gone with it mixed up, because John is of the opinion that they can't really let go of the racism. It's too core to the actual movement. And I think he might be right. Well, he might be right. He might be right. Like he might be completely right on that, because I said the same thing you did, that I can speak to the Black community more than, other minority groups. But talk to a 60-year-old Black guy about trans issues and see how far that goes. Like on that, like it is like, it's not going to go very well. And one thing you did mention, Serafina, was the misogyny. Holy shit. Like it's so bad. Like it's so
terrible. You don't really realize how bad it is until you see it firsthand, until you're a part of it, or until you actually like experience it yourself. There was a lot of misogyny that was happening in my family, and specifically the main person who was doing it was my mother. And so it was kind of like I'm a woman, but my mom was kind of like a pick-me. And so I saw that happening a lot. And that happens a lot in my family, other people's family. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. And so misogyny runs rampant, and it's really, really bad.
All right, guys, you've made it to the end of the episode, and it was probably maybe not the most well-buttoned episode, so this is me buttoning it. It's over. We had a very fun time talking today with our guests and went on a lot of different tangents. One of them you might have just listened to in this video. So if you want to hear more from our guests, Serafina, where can people find you?
Yes, so you can find me on TikTok at the Devil's Daughter 162, on Instagram at that same handle, and on YouTube at that same handle.
Thank you very much, Serafina. It was a great time, folks. We had a blast. We appreciate you joining us. Come back next time.